Hey, I'm Dr. Z and I'm a neurosurgeon. So that means long hours, early rounds, late nights, and everything in between. And through it all, I wear figs. Because they're built for what I do. Through the chaos, through the hours, and through whatever the day throws at me, they do their job so I can do mine. They're comfortable when it counts and functional when I need them the most. So where do you wear your figs? On shift, on call, on the couch in the break room, listening to this podcast, wherever it is, they fit right in. And now listeners of this podcast can get 15% off their first order. Just head to wearfigs.com and use code FIGSRX at checkout. That's wearfigs.com, code FIGSRX.
You are listening to Hillary Topper on Air. And now, here's your host, Hillary Topper.
Hello, and welcome to Hillary Topper on Air, where we explore the latest innovation in business, life, and athletics. Today, we're focusing on game-changing technology for anyone who is active. From elite athletes to weekend warriors, we're talking about pain, performance, and recovery, and a product that's revolutionizing how we support our bodies. Today's guest is Darren Lancaster. He is the CEO and co-founder of GOSleeves. And I will tell you one thing about GOSleeves. At first, I was a little hesitant about wearing it. Once I tried it on my knee, I'll tell you the truth, I only run or ride with GOSleeves because it really helps stabilize my knee and it makes it feel so much better. I feel like I could really go the distance with GOSleeves, and I'm really excited to have Darren on today's show. They've merged the benefits of compression sleeves with the science of kinesiology taping to create a unique product line. So, Darren, welcome to the show. Could you give us a little bit about your background and how you actually got started at GOSleeves?
Yeah, and the background doesn't really relate to Go very well because I'm originally a computer engineer and found my way to building businesses that help people with, everything from eyesight previously to you name it. And that's just my background. A lot of like just building things that people need and building communities online mostly, and a lot of trust and a lot of great support and a positive feedback loop. And that's just what we do. And so when we were in the middle of helping a lot of companies actually as a marketing agency in that way, Roy Carrillo and I, the Roy's the inventor. We've been playing basketball together for a good solid 15 years at that point. And he in particular, just dealing with lots of breakdowns that would keep him from playing. And so we started experimenting with different things and loved kinesiology tape, loved compression sleeves to a degree. But the limitations for both were, they just weren't getting the job done for us. And that's really where he came up with the idea of, could we build the same, kinesiology tape mechanism into reusable sleeves, into garments? And that's when those sleeves was born 6 years ago.
Yeah, so talk to us about that because that is so innovative. You know, people may or may not think so, but I found it brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And why didn't anybody think of this sooner kind of thing? So, can you explain what actually, what the core invention that separates your product from the rest of the compression sleeves out there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So most people are, or a larger number of people are familiar with, let's say a knee sleeve, a compression knee sleeve, and they can have different materials. They can be knitted, they can be neoprene. But in general, providing kind of a snug fit, but generally, great for support, but generally a little more, especially for runners. It's tough to keep them in place. They don't necessarily stay where you want them, and they end up bunching up, and so they've got some limitations. On the other side of the fence is kinesiology tape. So if you haven't experienced it yourself, you would have maybe seen athletes that have been taped up by trainers or what have you in the Olympics. I think the beach volleyball players are maybe the most infamous for KT tape because you can see it all over their bodies. But every type of athlete is using them, and even everyday people who have injuries. And as you're recovering, you might have a physical therapist, a chiropractor, a medical practitioner taping you up to help you accelerate that recovery from injury. And so kinesiology tape has a long, long, great history of that. The challenge is that for most people, difficult to use, very expensive, not reusable. So the innovation is we found a way to build the same mechanism of kinesiology tape into our compression sleeves. So you pull on a sleeve just like any other, but the difference is that as you pull it on, there's this medical grade silicone. There's these strips, and obviously, Hillary, you're very familiar with them. These glistening strips on the inside of the sleeves, and they're kind of tacky. And so as you pull the sleeve on and you stretch it across the skin, that silicone grips the skin. And it's that grippiness and the stretching. So when you put kinesiology tape on your body, it's actually an adhesive. You pull the adhesive off and you pull and you stretch the tape and you put it on your skin. And it's stretching and opening up the fascia. And that's exactly what our sleeves do. It's just that now you just pull them on and you go in seconds and they're reusable. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
great benefits that come from that are super unique.
So, yeah, talk to us about kinesiology tape. I mean, how does it actually work? It seems like it shouldn't really work. So, can you kind of explain that to us, us laymen over here?
Yeah, for sure. So as I said, it goes on the skin and stretches the skin. So it's opening up space in the tissues. And so if you have pain, let's say you have like knee tendonitis or arthritis, if you put this tape on your skin and it stretches and it creates space in the tissues, it's actually taking pressure off the pain receptor. So magically, wow, I experienced less pain and pretty much instantaneously while it's on. So that's wonderful. But the more exciting parts of what it does is in stretching and opening up the tissues as your body moves, as your fascia moves, it's also creating this shear or this skin drag inside the tissues that opens up the blood vessels, the circulatory system, and the lymphatic drainage system. So the lymphatic drainage system is what gets rid of lactic acid. And the circulatory system is just fantastic if you can maximize that for just in general, keeping the tissues fresh. So the tape is great for ridding the body of inflammation, pain, tightness, fatigue, or preventing it in the first place. The challenge is that it's not usually used all that well for things like preventing fatigue because it's just difficult to use. So then there's this last thing called proprioception, and that's just the neural receptors in the skin getting triggered by that stretch. And it creates this attentiveness in the central nervous system. Your body says, oh, that part of my knee, got it. I'm going to be more attentive and more aware, take care of that part of the body.
Yeah, there's so many different devices out there for knees, right? And, it's interesting because I've tried many of them and most of them don't work. This works. This absolutely works. And, what's interesting for me is that I had a Misha implant put into my knee
Hmm.
instead of getting a partial knee replacement. And I thought, oh, I'm probably not going to need GOSleeves anymore. But you know what? I still need it. I still need it for everything that I do. And I was saying this earlier, before you jumped on, that I use it for everything, including like if I'm doing a triathlon, I will wear it in the swim and just wear it the entire race, and it works fantastic. It really, keeps the swelling down. It stabilizes my knee. It just makes me feel like I could keep going the distance. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about like, okay, so I use it for the knee, but you have other products, right? Could you explain what other products you have in your line?
Yeah, we currently have the knee sleeves, as you know, and then there's the calf sleeves. The calf sleeves target the calf muscle, the Achilles, and the outer gastro or shin splints. So I really look at the calf sleeves as being the secret weapon for runners. Um, and I think, one of the things I think you're speaking towards and the reason that probably, I would, not to put words in your mouth because I would like for you to speak to your experience, but I think that as you get accustomed to the outcomes, both during training, activity, and after, right, helping recover, really a lot of it is about just this feeling of, wow, everything feels less fatigued, less inflamed, less tight. And so your performance, your confidence changes. And that's in using those sleeves during the activity and also using them to get a full recovery. The calf sleeves for boy, taking out the tightness in the calf of the Achilles for folks who sometimes deal with that, or let alone shin splints and the sensitivity of the tissues there, absolute game changer. And then our other form factor currently, more to come, our elbow sleeves is really targeting people who suffer from tendonitis and golfer's elbow, tennis elbow. Um, and then the other real, I think, amazing product that lives with the sleeves is our all natural K Recover cream. Has arnica as an all natural anti-inflammatory, magnesium that helps with joint and pain relief, and then glucosamine that helps oxidize the tissues. So the cream and the sleeves are meant to be used as a system. And the goal is it's not so much about, oh, let's be a great band-aid when things are kind of broken. The goal is, your use case now is more, more to really kind of maximize your outcomes and quite honestly, kind of reduce the pain and reduce the risk of injury.
Yeah, for sure. I know that I've used the calf sleeves after
Mhm.
long, hard bike rides, where my legs are just killing me. I just feel like, oh, they hurt so bad. And then I'll sometimes even sleep in them. And then the
Yeah.
next day, I'm fine. I'm perfect, ready to go.
Yeah.
So,
No, we love hearing that. We have lots of folks. I mean, even couple hundred NFL players. I remember a couple of years ago, to your point of an NFL player in the preseason that was on what's called the PUP list, physically unable to perform list, and it was all based on knee swelling from a scope. And this particular player was, eat, sleep, all of it in the sleeves with the goal of just maximizing or let's say minimizing that recovery time. And inflammation, I'll say this to everybody, like one thing to focus in on is inflammation. So when you push your body and it kind of goes beyond what it's capable of doing easily, and you start to feel sore, right, as a result of pushing the body. And anytime there's soreness, that's the sign of inflammation. And so job one, or the priority one, is to get the inflammation out of the body, because that really allows the recovery to be complete and to really run its full course. So maximizing circulation, maximizing lymphatic drainage, really attacking that inflammation, no matter where it is in your body, is kind of a game changer for performance and for reducing injury risk. At the end of the day, our goal is We want to be doing as well as we can, as much as we can. We don't want to be sitting on the couch, sitting on the sidelines, missing out on any opportunities.
So, for listeners out there who are dealing with nagging pain or just want to boost their recovery, what would be the first step that they would take to find the right GOSleeves product for them?
Yeah. Well, again, obviously, if you're dealing with knee issues, the knee sleeve is going to be fantastic. Elbow issues, the same. The calf sleeve are a secret weapon for a lot of different things. A lot of people will deal with plantar fasciitis, as an example. A lot of the plantar fasciitis might be sourced from tightness in the Achilles or in the calf. So the calf sleeves, to the degree that they're helping with that tightness and alleviate that, can help with plantar fasciitis. So you're going to kind of target the sleeve form factor you're interested in. You go to GOSleeves.com and find that form factor, and there are sizing instructions, very simple. You want to get the right size so that you have a good fit. And once you get those sleeves, um, the first time you put them on, they definitely go on different than compression sleeves, or a little more work because of the tackiness of the strips, and they got to be put on, pretty specifically so the strips are in the right place. But once you have them on, you'll notice, wow, it feels springy. Um, dare I say, maybe a little bit irritating to the skin initially. The skin does acclimate to the sleeves. So you'll wear them for an hour. You might give the skin a little rest. You'll notice that there's some reddish hue to parts of the skin where the strips are. That's just the accelerated blood flow. And you put them back on, and you just keep alternating on and off and cycling on and off to get your skin acclimated to that stretch. And I always recommend, for folks who aren't sure how to use them or how much they want to use them for recovery first. Start there, and just really try to get your body as fully recovered as possible. And then as you start to feel, I wonder what they'd be like, to run in them, whatever activity you do, experiment and try them out. And you may find, I'm up here in Northwest Montana, and we do a lot of skiing. I cannot ski without the knee sleeves, and it's not necessarily really, it's not a support thing. It's that my knees just feel that much fresher at the end of the day. And so, to your point about your knees, they seem like they probably would function just fine. But you've probably gotten to a place mentally where, like, well, I don't like downgrading how I feel at all.
Right.
So I don't know if you could speak to that and the difference, like, with and without for your knees, how that
Oh,
feels.
I think it makes a big difference when I don't wear them. It's almost like it's not, my knee isn't stable, if that makes any sense. It's almost like
Hmm.
it almost like stabilizes it. And
Hmm.
just, I don't know, that extra stabilization, I think, really makes me feel like I could go longer. I mean, I'm still having issues with my knee, but I feel like at least I could do something now with the Go sleeves. And what's interesting that you're saying about skiing, I should have probably wore them last year when I was skiing.
Mm.
In the Pyrenees. We were skiing, and I ended up falling, and oh, forget about it. That was just
Yeah.
right on my knee, of course.
Oh.
I know. But it did help once I just used it as a recovery after that incident, and it definitely helped me. You could feel the blood flow through, like,
Hmm.
it's just really interesting how it works. Um, and I was saying earlier, when I first met you guys at an expo, I was like, I don't know that this is going to work. And then I said, let me try it. It can't, what could be, the worst thing? It doesn't work, and I just get rid of it like everything else, and it worked like a gem. And you're right about the cream. The cream that you sell alongside of the sleeve, I they it definitely works. That arnica, like, just
Hmm.
really works.
Yeah, that system, just to speak to that, and again, how people might use it. Um, uh, Anytime you're dealing with anything, the cream, then the sleeves. And anytime you're just in maintenance mode, then, you know, finished with their activity, shower, massage, almost like deep tissue, massage the cream in, and then pull the sleeve on. It does not smell like you've been in a gym, we promise. It actually smells quite
It
nice.
does.
Um, but you will absolutely feel that combination going to work immediately. And I think to your point, like confidence is big, right? In all the things that we do, we want to feel that. And it's that this combination of the compression, it's like a nice warm hug, that's beautiful, but then the stretching of the skin tissues and that targeting, it really creates this sort of stability in the central nervous system, not just physically. Like the physical stability is important, but honestly, more it's more the just that mental stability that's triggered in our central nervous systems of like, we're okay, it's all good, we're paying attention to this area that normally kind of, tweaks with my brain a little bit. So it is kind of a game changer in that way.
I also think too that with just using kinesiology tape, people don't know how to do it right. And
Yeah.
it's just it's just a mess, right? Like, unless the professionals do it and then they do it
Hmm.
right and you could keep it on for a couple of days, but this is just so much easier and so much better
It's
in my opinion.
tricky. It's tricky, even if you know how to put it on and where you can stretch it too much or too little. Stretch it too much, it's irritating. You want it off
Yeah,
immediately. Stretch it too little, and it's not super effective.
yeah.
So, as you've known and experienced with the sleeves, if they feel a little too aggressive, then you just reduce the stretch. And you can always bend down and stretch them more and get more tension on the skin. So you can dial it in how you want. It's just so easy. So yeah. You said earlier it's kind of like one of those things that you wish, why didn't I come up with that? And I've always been that guy who says that. And so it's so fun to hear someone say that about something we created, because finally we did something that I was like, hey, why didn't we do that? So it was obvious. It seems obvious. What has been non-obvious is over the last 6 years, learning all the use cases, and and so everybody's experience will be different. Your body's your own. And I would just say and emphasize experiment, have sleeves for working out to get sweaty in, have sleeves to recover in, and you'll get it dialed in, and you'll know that you're kind of performing, and your confidence levels at a different level than what you're used to.
Awesome. Well, can you tell our listeners where they could get themselves uh,
Yeah, absolutely.
Go
So,
Sleeves?
yep, GOSleeves, GOSleeves.com. And please, we always have folks there dying to answer questions, anything specific about how anything you're challenged with, activities that you do and how they might apply. Just drop questions in there, and our team loves to get back to you and try to optimize all of your outcomes.
Special thanks to the Russo Law Group, Long Island's estate planning, elder law, and special needs law firm. For more information, contact vjrussolaw.com. That's V as in Victor, jrussolaw.com. And Playtry. Everything swim, bike, and run. For more information on Playtry, go to Playtry, playtry.com/store. Or for franchise opportunities, go to playtry.com and you could own your own swim, bike, and run store locally.